In Vietnam, there were days when there was no plan B. When a unit was surrounded in the jungle, with no artillery nearby, no available air support, and the enemy closing in, only one option remained: improvise. In many of those moments, a helicopter designed to transport soldiers ended up being turned into something it was never meant to be: a bomber. Welcome to the Military Air Archive. At the beginning of the war, the United States did not imagine that helicopters would be used as heavy attack platforms. The original doctrine was simple. They were meant to transport troops quickly into combat, evacuate the wounded, and carry supplies. However, the reality of the jungle shattered this logic in a short time. Many bases were isolated. Clouds prevented fighter strikes. It was in this scenario that pilots began to improvise. Then someone had a simple and dangerous idea. If airplanes could drop bombs, why couldn't helicopters? At first, everything was improvised. Crews began tying grenades, light bombs, and even homemade explosive charges to doors and external mounts. In some cases, soldiers threw explosives manually out of the aircraft. There were no sights, no calculations, only visual estimation, courage, and desperation. The helicopter flew low over the target. A crew member released the load and hoped it would hit. From 1966 onward, the U.S. Army officially authorized modifications to UH-1s to drop bombs. They created a system called the Mortar Aerial Delivery System, basically a wooden tube or chute inside the cabin used to release modified mortar rounds and even cluster bomb units. Crews called these modified Hueys mad bombers. Not all helicopter bombers were tactical Hueys. The CH-54 Tarhe, a heavy-lift helicopter, was used to carry and drop the massive Bell UH-1 bomb, which weighed between 6,800 and 15,000 pounds depending on the version. Its main purpose was to instantly clear jungle areas to create landing zones for helicopters. It was not tactical bombing against troops, but rather the delivery of an enormous bomb by helicopter. But the price was high. To function as a bomber, the helicopter had to fly low and slow, exactly what made it more vulnerable. Anti-aircraft machine guns, rifles, and RPGs began targeting these attacks specifically. Many aircraft were hit during missions. Some returned damaged. Others fell in flames into the jungle. Moreover, the Huey was not designed to withstand this kind of stress. The extra weight of rockets overloaded engines and structures. Vibrations increased. Mechanical failures became more frequent. Each mission wore the aircraft down further. Even so, operations continued. In 1967, during intense fighting in mountainous areas, several American units were trapped without conventional support. Clouds prevented airstrikes. Artillery was out of range. Only armed helicopters remained. For hours, they carried out repeated attacks, launching rockets and improvised explosive charges at enemy positions. Later reports indicated that hundreds of fighters were neutralized in these actions. These experiences accelerated the development of specialized aircraft. The AH-1 Cobra was born directly from this need. Faster, slimmer, armored, and heavily armed, it officially assumed the attack role. With cannons, rockets, and missiles, it gradually replaced improvised Hueys. From that moment on, the helicopter bomber ceased to be an emergency solution and became a formal part of military doctrine. But before that, everything was done through adaptation. Pilots learned in practice. There were no detailed manuals. Each squadron developed its own methods. Some preferred low-level strafing runs. Others short dives. Some fired from a distance. Others came dangerously close to the target. The margin for error was minimal. Many died while learning. The psychological impact was also profound. By the end of the war, thousands of missions of this kind had been flown. None of them were in the original plans. The helicopter, created to save lives and move troops, ended up becoming a weapon of direct destruction. Not by strategic choice, but by necessity. Because in Vietnam, war rarely followed rules. When the situation became critical, any available tool was turned into a weapon. The day a helicopter was used as a bomber was not an isolated event. It was the result of a conflict in which improvisation meant survival, and in which, many times, the difference between going home or disappearing in the jungle depended on a pilot willing to fly too low, too close, and too fast. carrying explosives where they were never meant to be. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.